My dad gave his affair partner's kids a key to my inherited cabin for a 2-week frat party. They brought 15 friends, alcohol, and a U-Haul. The police were very interested in their blood alcohol levels. I never imagined that inheriting a modest cabin would lead to the complete unraveling of my father's second family, but here we are. I'm Marcus, 32M, high school history teacher, and this is the story of how my great-aunt's final gift exposed the true nature of my father's new and improved family. My great-aunt Margaret died last September at the age of 89. She was my paternal grandmother's sister, a woman who never married, never had children, and lived what most of the family called an unconventional life. While others whispered about her being a spinster, I knew her as the brilliant woman who'd worked as a codebreaker during the Korean War, traveled to 40 countries, and retired early to live in her custom-built cabin on Lake Serene, about 3 hours north of the city. I was the only family member who regularly visited her. Starting when I was 12, my summers were spent at her cabin, learning everything from fly fishing to woodworking, from local history to classical literature. She taught me carpentry in her workshop, showed me how to maintain the property, and most importantly, shared her philosophy on life. Marcus, never let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting what's yours. Boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary. The rest of the family, including my father Robert, only remembered Aunt Margaret existed when they needed something. Dad would call her maybe once a year, usually when he was having financial troubles. She'd listen politely and never offer a dime. "Your father thinks money solves everything," she told me once. He never learned that some problems are character problems, not cash problems. When Aunt Margaret passed, the will reading was held at her lawyer's office in the city. The entire extended family showed up, circling like vultures. Dad brought his second wife Sharon, 45F, and her twin sons Tyler and Trent, 19M. I hadn't seen them in months, which was intentional on my part. Some background is necessary here. My parents divorced 8 years ago when I was 24. Mom discovered Dad's affair with Sharon, his then secretary who was 15 years younger than him. The divorce was ugly. Dad fought for everything until Mom's lawyer threatened to expose his embezzlement from his company's accounts, money he'd spent on Sharon. He backed down, and Mom got the house, half his retirement, and alimony. Within 6 months, Dad married Sharon and suddenly became Father of the Year to her twin sons, then 13. He missed my college graduation to attend their middle school soccer game. He skipped my sister Emma's wedding rehearsal dinner for their high school orientation. Every holiday became about what the boys needed. Emma and I became afterthoughts, relegated to quick coffee meetings when Dad could squeeze us in between Tyler and Trent's activities. Back to the will reading. The lawyer, Mr. Harrison, read through the smaller bequests first. Various cousins received small cash amounts. Dad got nothing, which made him shift uncomfortably in his seat. Then came the big one, the cabin property at Lake Serene, including all contents, workshop equipment, and the associated 2 acres of land, I leave to my great-nephew Marcus Thompson, who alone among my relatives understood that the value of a home isn't in its market price but in the love within its walls. The room erupted. Dad stood up, face red. "That's impossible. I'm her nephew. Blood nephew. Marcus is just the only person who visited her," Mr. Harrison interrupted, clearly prepared for this reaction. Mrs. Margaret also left this letter to be read if anyone contested Marcus's inheritance. He read Aunt Margaret's letter aloud. "If you're hearing this, it means someone, likely Robert, is throwing a tantrum about my cabin going to Marcus. Let me be clear, Robert, you haven't visited me in 5 years. Your wife Sharon called me that old witch at the last family reunion, not knowing I was within earshot. Your stepsons have never met me because you were too busy playing father to them to bring them around. Marcus spent every summer with me for 15 years. He learned the cabin's history, helped maintain it, and actually cared about me as a person, not a potential inheritance. The cabin is his. Deal with it." Sharon's face went purple. The twins looked confused. Dad stormed out, and I thought that would be the end of it. The cabin officially became mine in November. I spent Thanksgiving week there, going through Aunt Margaret's things, cataloging her extensive library, and planning renovations. The place needed work, new roof, updated electrical, some foundation repairs, but it was structurally sound. I budgeted out the repairs using my savings and a small loan, planning to do much of the work myself over winter break. On December 10th, I got a call from Sharon. This was unusual. She typically communicated through Dad to avoid talking to me directly. "Marcus, sweetheart," she began in a syrupy voice I'd never heard her use with me before. "I wanted to discuss the winter break plans for the cabin." "What winter break plans?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Well, the twins are coming home from college, and we've decided the cabin would be perfect for their winter break celebration. They want to invite some fraternity brothers up. You know how hard they've been working at State University. They deserve a nice retreat." I actually laughed. "Sharon, there are no plans for the cabin over winter break except my renovation work." Her tone immediately shifted from sweet to sharp. "Your father said family has rights to use the cabin. The boys already invited their friends. 15 of them. From December 20th through January 2nd. 15 people? For 2 weeks. Sharon, even if I wasn't using the cabin, which I am, I would never allow that. The place isn't set up for that many people, and I'm not insured for that kind of liability. They're adults. They can be responsible. They're 19-year-old fraternity brothers on winter break. I know exactly what kind of responsible that means. The answer is no." "You selfish little," she caught herself. "Your father will hear about this." 20 minutes later, Dad called. "Marcus, stop being difficult about the cabin." "I'm not being difficult. I'm saying no to 15 teenagers destroying Aunt Margaret's cabin." "They're not teenagers, they're young men. And they're your brothers." "They're not my brothers, Dad. They're your wife's sons who you've known for 6 years. And even if they were my brothers, the answer would still be no. Family shares, Marcus. That's what we do." "Really? When did you share with me, Dad? When you missed my college graduation. When you skipped Emma's wedding rehearsal. When you forgot my birthday 3 years in a row because it conflicted with the twins' basketball tournament." "Don't be dramatic. This is about the cabin, not ancient history. The cabin Aunt Margaret left to me specifically because I was the only one who cared about her. Not you, not Sharon, not the twins. Me. I'll pay you rent. $500 for the 2 weeks. Dad, my property insurance alone would go up more than that if they filed a single claim. No." The call ended with him calling me selfish and saying I was destroying the family. December 15th, Sharon tried again, this time through a text that was clearly meant to guilt me. "The boys told all their friends about the cabin. They'll be humiliated if they have to cancel." "Is that really what Margaret would want? For you to use her cabin to hurt family?" I responded. "Aunt Margaret would want me to protect her cabin from people who called her an old witch. Stop contacting me about this." I thought that would be the end. I underestimated their entitlement. Update 1, December 19th. On December 18th, I was at school finishing up finals grading when I got a call from Jim Morrison, the year-round resident who lives nearest to my cabin at the lake. Jim's a retired state trooper who'd been friends with Aunt Margaret for 30 years. "Marcus, thought you should know, there's activity at your place. SUV and a pickup truck. Saw 3 people unloading coolers and boxes. Young guys and a middle-aged woman. They used a key to get in." My blood went cold. "Jim, I'm 3 hours away and didn't give anyone permission. Can you?" "Already called the local sheriff. Deputy Harrison is en route. You might want to head up here." I immediately went to my principal, explained the situation, and got permission to leave. She was understanding. I'd already submitted my grades, and winter break officially started the next day anyway. The 3-hour drive felt like 10. I called my lawyer friend Steve on the way, who advised me to document everything and not to enter the property until law enforcement cleared it. When I arrived, there were 2 sheriff's vehicles at my cabin. Jim met me at the road. "Deputies are inside," he said. "The woman left about an hour ago, but the 2 young men are still here. They've been moving furniture, setting up what looks like party preparations." Deputy Harrison, no relation to the lawyer, approached me. "Mr. Thompson, can you confirm this is your property?" "Yes, sir. I inherited it in September." I showed him the deed on my phone and the paperwork I'd brought. "Did you give anyone permission to enter?" "No. In fact, I explicitly denied permission to my stepbrothers and stepmother to use it." I showed him the text messages. We entered together. The sight made my stomach turn. My living room furniture had been pushed against the walls. Aunt Margaret's antique dining table was covered in beer boxes. Cases of alcohol were stacked in the kitchen. They'd cleared out Aunt Margaret's workshop, her carefully organized tools thrown into boxes, to make room for more party supplies. But the worst part was Aunt Margaret's bedroom. They'd stripped her handmade quilt off the bed and thrown it in a corner to make room for an air mattress. Her jewelry box was open on the dresser, contents clearly rifled through. Tyler and Trent arrived while we were documenting the scene, driving their lifted truck with music blaring, already drinking beers in the vehicle. "What the hell?" Tyler shouted, seeing the police cars. "Who called the cops?" "I did," I said, stepping outside. "You're trespassing." We're not trespassing, this is our family cabin. Trent slurred slightly. Your name on the deed? Deputy Harrison asked. Our dad said we could use it, Tyler said, then caught himself. Our stepdad. And his name is on the deed. It's family property. I interrupted. Officer, they've been drinking and driving. Deputy Harrison's expression darkened. He called for backup and administered field sobriety tests. Tyler blew a .09, just over the legal limit. Trent blew .08, exactly at the limit but still illegal since he was under 21. Gentlemen, you're under arrest for DUI, breaking and entering, and criminal trespass. The twins started panicking. You can't arrest us. Marcus, tell them it's a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding was you thinking you could break into my property after I said no. As they were being cuffed, Sharon arrived, tires squealing. She jumped out of her SUV screaming about her babies and threatening to sue everyone. When she tried to interfere with the arrest, Deputy Harrison warned her about obstruction. Ma'am, did you provide these young men with a key to enter this property? I'm their mother. I don't have to answer your questions. Actually, ma'am, you do. Mr. Thompson, did you give her a key? Never. She must have copied my father's old key without permission. Sharon made a critical mistake then. Robert gave me that key. He said the cabin was family property and we had every right to use it. So you admit to entering the property after being explicitly denied permission by the owner? She realized her error and shut up, but it was too late. Update 2, December 20th. The twins spent the night in county jail. Sharon bailed them out the next morning, but they faced serious charges. Criminal trespass, breaking and entering, DUI for Tyler, and minor in possession for both. Their college was notified due to the criminal charges. I spent December 19th cleaning up their mess and installing new locks, security cameras, and an alarm system. The damage was more than just the chaos. They'd broken the lock on Aunt Margaret's workshop to clear it out, scratched the hardwood floors moving furniture, and somehow cracked the bathroom mirror. That evening, I got a call from Brad Matthews, the president of the twins fraternity. Mr. Thompson, I'm calling to apologize on behalf of Delta Sigma. We had no idea the twins were lying about having permission to use your cabin. 15 of our members had given them money for food and gas for the trip. When they got arrested, we started investigating. I appreciate the call, Brad. There's more. This isn't their first issue with entitlement and lying. They've been on fraternity probation since October for stealing from the house fund and claiming it was for approved expenses. This is their third strike. They're out. That explained why Sharon was desperately calling me all evening. I didn't answer. Dad finally called around 10 p.m. Marcus, you've gone too far. Having them arrested? They're kids. They're adults who broke into my house and drove drunk, Dad. Drop the charges. We'll pay for any damages. No. They committed multiple crimes. They face the consequences. This will ruin their lives. They could lose their scholarships. They should have thought of that before breaking into my house. It's not your house. It's the family cabin. Dad, it's literally my house. Legally, morally, and practically. You have no say in this. If you don't drop these charges, you're no longer my son. I haven't been your son since you chose Sharon and her kids over Emma and me. This just makes it official. He hung up. It was the last time we spoke directly. Update 3, December 25th. Christmas was interesting. I spent it at the cabin with Mom, Emma, and her family. It was the first peaceful holiday we'd had in years. Mom brought photo albums of Aunt Margaret, and we shared stories the kids had never heard. Meanwhile, the family Facebook group, which Sharon had created to stay connected, exploded with drama. Sharon posted a long rant about how I'd destroyed Christmas and ruined her son's futures over petty jealousy. The responses were mixed until I posted my side. Screenshots of the text messages denying permission, photos of the break-in damage, the police report, and a particularly damning photo of Tyler and Trent's DUI arrest records. My cousin Linda commented, "Wait, they drove drunk and broke in?" Sharon, "You're lucky Marcus didn't press additional charges." My Uncle Pete, Dad's brother, added, "Robert, you gave your wife a key to property that wasn't yours? That's theft, brother." The Real bomb came when Emma posted, "For context, everyone should know that Dad hasn't spoken to Marcus or me in months because we refuse to pretend Sharon's kids are our siblings. Now they break into Marcus's cabin and Dad takes their side. This isn't about property. It's about Dad choosing his replacement family over his actual children." Again. Mom, who usually stays quiet, added, Margaret told me before she died that she was leaving the cabin to Marcus because he was the only one who loved her for her, not her assets. She specifically said she didn't want Robert's gold-digger wife anywhere near her property. Her words. The post got over 100 comments before Sharon deleted it, but screenshots were already circulating. Update 4, January 5th. The new year brought major consequences. Tyler and Trent were both expelled from their fraternity and lost their housing for spring semester. Tyler's DUI conviction, he pled guilty to avoid jail time, meant he lost his license for 6 months and had to do 100 hours of community service. Both twins were put on academic probation by their university for the criminal charges. Sharon attempted to sue me for emotional distress, defamation, and malicious prosecution. Her lawyer dropped the case after I counter-threatened to sue for breaking and entering, property damage, and theft. They'd stolen some of Aunt Margaret's tools, which we found in their truck. But the biggest surprise came from Aunt Margaret's lawyer, Mr. Harrison. He called me on January 3rd. "Marcus, there's something else Margaret left for you. She insisted I only give it to you if someone tried to take the cabin or challenge your ownership." It was a safety deposit box key and a letter. The letter read, "Dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, it means my prediction came true and Robert or his new family tried to steal what I left you. I'm not surprised. Your father has always been weak, choosing the easy path and the loudest voice in his ear. Currently, that's Sharon, a woman who sees dollar signs where she should see family bonds. In the safety deposit box, you'll find $75,000 in bonds. This is your legal defense fund and renovation fund. Use it to protect the cabin and restore it properly. Also included are all the documentation of every time your father asked me for money over the years, over $200,000 total, all of which he claimed was for you and Emma but clearly wasn't, based on the timestamps and his spending patterns. There's also a video recording from last year where Sharon called me to demand I leave the cabin to the family, so her boys could have a legacy property. She offered to put me in a nursing home in exchange. I recorded it all. Use it if needed. Stand strong, my dear boy. Don't let them guilt you. Family isn't about blood or marriage certificates. It's about who shows up with love, not greed. Who builds instead of takes. Who protects instead of exploits. The cabin was my sanctuary, and now it's yours. Guard it well. Live in it. Love in it. Fill it with real family, the people who love you for you, not for what you can give them. Remember our summers together. Remember the lessons in the workshop. Remember that boundaries aren't walls keeping love out, they're fences keeping poison out. With all my love and trust, Aunt Margaret. P.S. Change the locks immediately. I caught Robert making copies of his key 3 years ago. He doesn't know I know. Also, check the workshop floor under the workbench. There's a hidden compartment with my father's tools from the 1940s. They're museum quality now and worth about $50,000 to the right collector. Consider it your renovation budget. I sat in my car and cried for 20 minutes after reading that letter. The safety deposit box contained everything she promised and more, including photos of every summer we'd spent together, labeled with dates and memories. The last photo was from the summer before she died, the two of us on the dock, fishing poles in hand, both smiling. On the back, she'd written, "My true heir, in all ways that matter." Update 5, January 15th. The legal consequences for Tyler and Trent continued to mount. Their university conducted its own investigation and suspended them for the spring semester. Without the fraternity, without housing, and with criminal records, they had to move back home with Sharon and take community college classes. Sharon's real estate license was suspended for 6 months due to the moral turpitude clause. Breaking and entering doesn't look good for someone who's supposed to be trusted with house keys. Dad's reputation at his company suffered when the arrest records became public. Small-town newspapers love drama. He was passed over for a promotion he'd been expecting. I used some of Aunt Margaret's fund to hire a very good lawyer who sent cease and desist letters to Sharon, Dad, and the twins. Any further contact about the cabin would result in harassment charges. The antique tools were authenticated and valued at $52,000. I kept a few special pieces and sold the rest to a collector, using the money to properly renovate the cabin. New roof, updated electrical, restored workshop, and a security system that would make Fort Knox proud. Final resolution, January 30th. I received one last communication from Dad through his lawyer, a formal letter disowning me and removing me from his will. I laughed. His will? What will? Sharon had been spending everything as fast as he earned it on her sons. There would be nothing left to inherit anyway. Emma called me after getting her own letter. "You know what's funny," she said. "He thinks this is punishment. But Marcus, when was the last time he acted like a father to either of us?" 8 years ago, I answered. The day before he introduced us to Sharon. Exactly. He's not disowning us. He's just making official what's been true for years. The cabin is now fully renovated. Jim and his wife come over for dinner every Sunday. Emma brings her kids up once a month to fish and swim. Mom's planning to spend her retirement summers there. Real family, chosen family, the people who matter. Tyler and Trent now work at a local warehouse, their college dreams derailed by their own choices. Sharon's real estate business never recovered. Turns out, small-town gossip has consequences. Dad moved in with his brother Pete after Sharon kicked him out for ruining everything with his useless children. Last week, I found another hidden letter from Aunt Margaret while renovating the basement. It was shorter but no less meaningful. Marcus, by now you've proven what I always knew. You have a spine of steel wrapped in a kind heart. The cabin isn't just walls and a roof. It's a testament to choosing love over obligation, respect over demands, and boundaries over exploitation. Make it a home. Fill it with laughter. And always remember, anyone who truly loves you will respect your no as much as your yes. The cabin stands strong on Lake Serene, a testament to a remarkable woman who saw the future and prepared me for it. Every morning, I drink coffee from her mug on the deck she built, watching the sunrise she watched for 40 years. Sometimes I feel her presence in the workshop, hear her laughter in the wind through the trees. Tyler and Trent learned that crime has consequences. Sharon learned that manipulation has limits. Dad learned that choosing a new family means losing your old one. And I learned that sometimes the best inheritance isn't property or money. It's the strength to stand up for yourself and the wisdom to know who deserves a place in your life. The lake is peaceful today, ice fishing season in full swing. Jim just texted that the pike are biting. I think I'll grab Aunt Margaret's favorite rod and head out. After all, the cabin isn't just my inheritance, it's my home. And I'll protect it with everything I have, just as she knew I would.